Won't have time to go in depth on all 7 of the steps that I would suggest if you want to build this bridge towards the retirement future that you want, but I really do want to drill down into some of those steps and give you some really cool take-home content. My goal is that you at least get 2 or 3 really juicy bits of information that you just go, wow. Now, I hope you don't lose too much sleep as a result of that, but I want to make sure that I really do show you that I value you giving me your time, and I want to make sure you walk away with some great content. But let's first start with step number 1. Step number 1 is all about vision. If you can imagine heading towards retirement and starting to picture what does retirement look like for you? And not enough people do this. I encourage each person that comes through this process with me to begin with the end in mind. How much money do you need in retirement? What lifestyle do you want in retirement? Where will you be living? What cars will you be driving? How many holidays do you want to be taking per year? Are they overseas? Are they just here nationally? What does your lifestyle look like? Will you be eating out? Will you be attending concerts? Are there classes you want to attend? What does that lifestyle look like? How much per year? How much per week do you need to have to fund that lifestyle? If we don't imagine that, we can't just get to retirement and go, oh, I wish this had just manifested. We need to picture what that's going to look like. We need to have a strategy and a vision as to how we're going to create the retirement of our dreams. Now I'd like to introduce you to Jack and Diane. Jack and Diane represent a fairly typical couple that I work with. They're now in the first stage of really considering their retirement. Maybe the baby fog's lifted, maybe their kids are now teenagers. They're now entering a stage of their life where they've kind of got a little bit of independence back, and they stop and look at each other and go, you know what, we need to prepare for retirement. Maybe for Jack and Diane, they're in their mid-40s, let's say. They're looking towards 15 years or so until retirement, and now they need to prepare. How long exactly do they have? And how much per year do they need to fund the retirement of their dreams? Jack and Diane have talked over the recent years about holidays, places they'd like to visit, things they'd like to do together in those beautiful retirement years. But will they be able to fund it? Will they be able to afford the retirement that they truly do believe that they deserve? Jack and Diane have come up with a number. They believe that $85,000 a year will give them the sort of retirement in today's numbers. It may be a bit more down the track with CPI and so forth, but in today's numbers, $85,000 a year, knowing they'll own their house outright, they've got a feel for the amount of holidays they want to take and the lifestyle they want to have, $85,000 a year becomes their target. So let's have a look at how Jack and Diane are going so far. 15 years from now, their super will have performed. Their super will have a buffer. And for a lot of members, unfortunately, a lot of the people that follow my model and really zero in on this information, when they get familiar with how much per year they need in retirement, the unfortunate thing that becomes very evident is for most people, within about 6 years, they will have spent all of their super. The $85,000 a year in Jack and Diane's scenario will have eroded away at their super balance to a point where they'll have nothing left in 6 years, and they'll basically need government pensions to be able to survive. Not the lifestyle they want, and I'm sure probably not the lifestyle that you're looking for either. Now, like so many other Australians, the next part of the puzzle for most people in that scenario is the choices they have with regards to their family home. We know their super's going to run out in about 6 years, but unfortunately the next asset that they have to lean back on is the family home. And this is a phenomenon in Australia at the moment. I call it the grey tsunami. There are so many people out there that need to sell their family home at the moment because they're now 65, 70 years of age and stuck in the workforce. And they're looking at their super balances going, wow, that's not going to cut it. I'm not going to be able to have a retirement that I deserve or want. And the reality is the biggest asset, and for most people the only asset, is their family home. And needing to sell their family home is creating, like I said, the grey tsunami out of Sydney and Melbourne at the moment, where property prices are bouncing back and booming in many suburbs. And now people feel like they can get the price prices they want for their houses. They're selling, relocating to more affordable areas, and needing to put money back into their retirement funds. Now that's another whole topic for a whole part of what I call hot spotting and targeting. We'll get into a little bit later. But in this scenario, Jack and Diane don't want to be those people. They don't want to be the ones forced to sell their family home. So Jack and Diane need a better plan. Now, for so many Australians, they've got three choices. Do nothing, buy and hope, which is the old-fashioned way, the old-school way that people did buy property, and I can't believe the way that people have invested in property in the past. Buy a property in your own backyard and just buy and hope, right? One day it'll make sense. Or alternatively, the third path, and the one I'm going to really strongly suggest to everyone listening today, is take control. Take control of your financial future. And that's exactly what Jack and Diane decide to do. They decide to take control. They don't want to just be reliant on their super fund. Instead, they decide to build an investment property portfolio using nothing more than their lunch money, no more than $20 a week out of their pocket, protecting their family home and creating a cash flow in retirement to fund that $85,000 they want as a retirement income stream, not just for 5 or 6 years, but for 35 plus years. And once more, they've got no need to sell their family home. They've now protected their family home. The big question for all of us, the big place to start, is how much income per year would you like in retirement? This is a key part to getting a vision, beginning with the end in mind, a vision as to what we need to create as far as your investment property portfolio to produce that income for you and take the pressure off your family home. Step two is about protecting your pocket. It's one thing to have a vision as to what we want to create in our retirement years, what we need to be striving towards, but I want us to have a life today as well. I don't want to put a big, massive impact on our take-home income today. I believe in living today, but preparing for tomorrow. So protecting your pocket is fundamental. This is where the lunch money budget all evolved from. I've been wondering for years why the heck people would buy properties and put in $200 or $300 a week of their take-home income, taking away their lifestyles and putting their lives on hold until they retire. I believe if you can't buy a property with your lunch money, don't buy it. And I want to give an example. I want to show you how that tends to happen. Here's an old school buying experience. This is an example of someone's average wage where they've got a net wage component, a tax component, and a super component. Now, for those of you that choose to buy a family home, like most Australians will, they are the hardest homes to pay for because they must come out of your take-home income. All of the repayments for the family home must be after-tax money, and so they do become the hardest properties we ever pay for. Now, add to that most Australians will buy a house that they can barely afford. They'll stretch their budget to the nth degree, and they'll really eat into that living expenses that they have left over each week. But what's even worse is when they buy an investment property thinking they're doing it for, to set themselves up, to do something good for themselves and their family, they have actually sabotaged their take-home income even further by not understanding the numbers. And for most people, they actually buy properties with terrible depreciation and poor numbers and bad yields and maintenance issues, or whatever the cases may be, a whole range of different issues, which means that most of the servicing of that investment property also comes out of your take-home income. Now, this is something you absolutely must not do. I want to help you protect your pocket. I want to show you how the new school buyers are doing it this way. The new school strategy is about buying investment properties and using very little, if any, money out of your pocket as far as servicing goes. We'll talk about the deposit part of it later, how we do $1 deposits as well. But as far as the weekly holding costs, we want to keep that right down. So if any money's coming out of that take-home portion of your wage, it's only the $10 or $20 a week, and most is being serviced by your tax. Now, maximum of $20 a week, and people must, I know I get people that say, wow, Phil, but what are you buying? Guys, you can still buy quality homes in quality areas with that sort of a budget. Houses and properties and all different ranges of property types, but property types that you can be incredibly proud of. Don't feel like you got to buy in the middle of nowhere. I'm not this guy that goes out to little nowhere areas, mining towns, and little pretend little country villages. I only stick to the major cities, the major hubs. I'm a big sort of investor in major key areas, and I can still do